You like ice cream? Would you like to have it every meal for 2 weeks? Everybody eventually would get sick of it, especially if it turned out it wasn't really ice cream, but just frozen paint. Our number one story in the countdown, hence the dismissive phrase flavor of the month, and hence its applicability to Governor Sarah Palin. Among the latest pieces of frozen paint, she appointed a high school classmate to the top agriculture position in her state after that applicant cited her childhood love of cows. And just confirmed tonight, she installed a tanning bed in the governor's mansion. And after Tina Fey portrayed her on Saturday Night Live, a McCain advisor called Ms. Fey's performance, quote, sexist, even though Ms. Fey, Ms. Palin, and the advisor, Carly Fiorina, are all women. The vice presidential candidate campaigned solo in Colorado today as more reports emerged of her governing hallmarks, like cronyism over competence. As governor, Palin filled many key government positions with childhood and high school loyalists, according to the New York Times, specifically appointing to state attorney general, a person virtually unknown to the legal community with no supervisory experience. Does it sound familiar to you? How about secrecy over transparency? Her inner circle established a practice of using private email accounts, classic Karl Rove move, because an assistant said it would be, quote, confidential and not subject to subpoena. With that classic us versus them mentality infusing it all, as mayor of Wasilla, she fired a city attorney who had issued a stop work order on the home of the mayor's campaign supporter. She fired the museum director, to the evident delight of a local and vocal conservative. And when she was running for governor, and a reporter noted that Palin had improperly conducted campaign business from the mayor's office, Palin reportedly replied, quote, yeah, what I did was wrong. Then she issued a press release accusing the local reporter of smearing her. Thus, when Ms. Palin becomes parody with Tina Fey's impeccable performance on Saturday Night Live, it is barely one step removed from Ms. Palin's parody of Self, again today repeating her Bridge to Nowhere line. That's another $100 I owe. Meantime, the former Alaska Public Safety Commissioner, Walt Monaghan, told ABC News that Palin was not telling the truth in her recent televised interview when she asserted that neither she nor her husband pressured Monaghan into firing a state trooper. And tonight, just in, a McCain campaign spokesman says Governor Palin will not speak to the state investigator hired by the state of Alaska in the Troopergate story, the so-called Troopergate story, even though there's no subpoena against her. He just wants to talk to her before the election in November, just to talk. At this point, let's bring in Newsweek magazine's senior Washington correspondent and political columnist, our own Howard Feynman. Howard, good evening.
Hi, Keith.
Troopergate is a Democratic witch hunt, according to Governor Palin, which I'm trying to figure out how that works, since the committee's 5 people and there are 3 Republicans on it.
Well, the detail I love is that the deciding vote to subpoena the first dude, her husband, was cast by a Republican state senator named Charles Huggins, who's from her hometown of Wasilla, and he left a moose hunting trip and arrived at the committee hearing in camo so he could cast the vote. And he said there was a lot of sort of duck paddling going on under the water. He said, let's just get it all out there in the light. So I think there's some Republicans who would like to know about this also. It certainly plays in politics, but this didn't start out as a Democratic witch hunt.
I've just maxed out on hunting references in there and analogies, by the way. Rachel Maddow is going to have a lot more on this story as it evolves in the next couple of minutes. But there are so many, as usual, 19 Palin balls in the air. The New York Times piece, is there a perceived disconnect coming here between her so-called brand, this renegade, maverick, clean everything up, and what borders on Tammany Hall North politics? Or is the vote, is that too subtle for voters?
I don't think it's too subtle. I think voters are on a crash course to learn everything they can about Sarah Palin, just as the media is. The McCain campaign and conservatives dismiss it all as huffing and puffing by Obama camp followers in the press. But all everybody's trying to do is just figure out who this lady is and how she operates. And the fact is, she may think of herself as a maverick, and she may be one. But the way she's operated is in the best tradition of old big city politics, where what's yours is yours and what the other guy's is yours, and you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. That's what she's doing. She was known for her personal style of politics, for her reliance on loyal people from her high school, people she'd grown up with. I mean, the joke around Alaska was, you'd look at her high school yearbook to find out who's in her administration, and that's the way she's operated. Well, that people should know that.
All right, but now the visceral stuff, the imagey kind of stuff, like it or not, the country responded to the elitist angle they were playing on Obama, and the $400 haircut on John Edwards, that stuck. What self-respecting hockey mom governor wants to get caught within 100 miles of her own tanning bed?
Well, in defense of Alaska, I will say that there's a lot of night up there. And I know from spending a fair amount of time up there that everybody goes to tanning beds all the time, but not everybody has one in their own home. So it's not quite as crazy as it sounds. But you could argue that you could argue that she could go to, like everybody else, to the strip mall to the tanning bed.
Well, no, but how about just a sun lamp if it's a question? I mean, or extra lights in the house. This is a tanning bed in your own house.
I don't think. Yeah, as I said, tanning beds are common. Everybody goes. Whether you should have one in your own house at public, whether it is or is not at public expense is another legitimate question.
All right, apparently it was not. But let me ask you, in the time we have left, one last thing. Too much. Carly Fiorina used the word sexism about the Tina Fey cameo on Saturday Night Live. How much more line do they have in this reel before the fishing rod breaks off in their hands?
I think it's enough. I think Saturday Night Live has sort of been the accidental arbiter of the media and media coverage, and I think the character, Amy Poehler playing Hillary Clinton, had a pretty good line, which was to the media, grow a pair or I'll lend you mine. So I think that should be the advice we all follow as we frantically try to figure out who Sarah Palin really is before Election Day.
Passed on without comment. Howard Feynman of Newsweek and MSNBC. Thank you, Howard.